Hey guys, it's GoldenSteelTV here. This is the last gaming video of 2019 and of the entire decade of the 2010. So, in this video, we're gonna talk about some great moments from the year, controversial moments from that year, and some moments from the decade too. Alright, we're in my village. Minecraft recently went through an update. I'm playing in the old edition, which is what I prefer over the new one, cause you know, I'm more of an antique guy than you know, a guy who always sticks to trends. So you could say I'm more of a dinosaur, you know. Okay, other than that, we can do whatever we want here and talk whatever we want. But right now, we're gonna go on a boat ride. We're gonna make a trade with another village, and while we're sailing away, we could talk whatever is on my mind and my reflections on the year and the decade. And what are my plans for 2020? Alright. But before we get to that, we could talk about some sports moments that happened recently, and of the year, and of the decade. Alright. In recent news, the NFL playoffs will be going on starting January. For the AFC conference playoffs, the top two seeds are the Ravens, who have the #1 seed, and the Chiefs, who won the 2 seed after a win against the Chargers, and the Patriots lost against the Miami Dolphins. With that means the Patriots, for the first time since 2010, will be in the wild card, which for the first time, they will not get a first round bye. The other teams in the AFC conference that made the playoffs include the Houston Texans and the Buffalo Bills, who are coming fresh off the first 10+ win season since 1999. Which was the last time they also made the playoffs, until 2017, which was 2 years ago. And the Bills had a record of 11-5, same record the last time they had a season with a record of over 10 wins, which was 11-5 in 1999. Josh Allen of the Bills has been great. I used to not like him, but now he's blowing me away. Allen is freakishly athletic, and he's pretty underrated. Okay, we're gonna look at the castle tower, the castle fortress that I built. We're gonna change the flag from a French flag to a Mexican flag to reflect on my heritage. As I stated in the previous gaming video, I am a Mexican, and yes, I was born here in America, so don't judge. But if you didn't know that I am a Mexican, you know that by now. Okay. Alright, back to sports talk. One last team in the AFC conference that made the playoffs is the Tennessee Titans, who entered the playoffs as the 6th seed, which means they will also go to the wild card. And they started off alright when they beat the Browns, but their quarterback, Marcus Mariota, regressed, and after one bad game, he was benched in favor of Ryan Tannehill, who was coming fresh off his time with the Miami Dolphins, who traded him to to the Titans. Amazingly, he was able to revitalize his career, and for the first time in his career, he will appear in the playoffs. And I'm so happy for him, of this guy that revitalized his career, and now he's in the playoffs for the first time in his career. So I'm so happy for him. Okay, the matchups for the wild card are in the AFC conference include Buffalo Bills versus Houston Texans, and next up will be Patriots versus Titans. So that's all set for the wild card weekend. In the NFC conference, we got the Packers as the 1 seed. Oh, actually, the 2 seed, and it's also the first time making the playoffs since 2016. And the 49ers, who are a 1 seed for the first time since 1997, which was when they had Steve Young and Jerry Rice. Alright, we're in San Nube right now. We're gonna go visit a village for a bit. We're gonna stop here to take a rest. San Nube in Spanish means Saint Cloud. I named it after a movie that I know, which is called Charlie St. Cloud. I decided that if that name were to be in Spanish, it would be lovely and beautiful. Don't get me wrong, Spanish is a beautiful language, and even if you don't like speaking that language, you should learn it, like at school or off the internet. I listened to some. I got into Spanish music just so I could learn Spanish and get in touch with my culture, and it's helped me out pretty well. That I'm pretty much inspired to put some stuff in Spanish, you know, cause I wanna honor my heritage, and you should honor your heritage, whether you're white, black, Hispanic, or Asian, or whatever you are. So that's the lesson of the day, kids. Okay. We're gonna continue talking about the playoffs. But first, we're gonna get to the village that has expanded, called Hartley. The village started off small at first, but after a pillager raid that killed much of its population, I decided to revitalize it into a much bigger, much more desirable village to live in for villagers. So as you can see, it's now bigger than ever. I think I might have showed you guys the village in one of my previous videos before. I don't know, but it looks beautiful now, doesn't it? Yeah. So after a pillager raid, I decided that in order to help the village rebuild, I decided that expansion was a good idea, so it could help its economic conditions and help make it a prosperous village for villagers to live in. And yeah. So yeah, we got farming and trading as their main income. Every village will have its main income, whether it's through farming, trading, forestry, or whatever that might be. Because in turn, that brings a lot of money to the villages that make their own profits. Because that's how the world works, you know. All right, we're gonna continue talking about sports right now. We had the other teams in the NFC playoffs include the Seahawks, who came second to the NFC West, and the Saints, who are coming off fresh from the controversy that they had to deal with last year after last season, after a pass interference call that caused a change to be made to officiating, and this also made the pass interference now challengeable by coaches. To make this long story short, the other teams in the NFC playoffs include the let me think for a second. The Vikings, whose quarterback Kirk Cousins is making the second playoff appearance in his career. Before that, he made it just once in his career when he was with the Redskins in 2015. Yeah, I was his doubter since you know, the Vikings are rivals with the Bears, and he silenced me this year. He has a good receiver corp of Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs, the guy who's best known for the Minneapolis Miracle, and ironically, and coincidentally should I say, they're facing the Saints in the wild card round, and the other teams in the wild card round include the Seahawks, who are facing the Eagles, who are coming off fresh from numerous injuries that plagued the Eagles, and it's also the first time that Carson Wentz will take a snap in the playoffs. Although his team won the Super Bowl, and he did win one with them, he never played in the playoffs because of injuries that he sustained each time he made one. But now that he's healthy, and this season marks the first time in his career that he will play in the playoffs. When he was injured, Nick Foles took over for him, and you know the story. But to make this long story short, Foles helped the Eagles win Super Bowl 52, and they had another good playoff run, which came to an end when they lost against the Saints. All right, the Eagles win against the Giants knocked the Cowboys out from the playoff contention, which means that the Cowboys will not make the playoffs this season. So I'm sorry to say that, Cowboys fans. Believe it or not, I actually love to make fun of the Cowboys. The Cowboys are hated by most NFL fans in general, mainly because of how annoying their fan base is. Just like how annoying anime fan bases are, you know. And there are lots of memes that come out every time the Cowboys lose or are eliminated from the playoffs, cause we love to have to make jokes for fun and delight, you know. All right. So yeah. That's all I could talk about the NFL playoffs. We could talk basketball right now. We had the NBA Christmas Day games, starting off with Celtics versus Raptors, and then 76ers versus the Milwaukee Bucks, who were the 76ers were able to destroy the Bucks under their corp of Joel Embiid and company. They were able to destroy Giannis, whose last name I still can't pronounce correctly. And in that game, Giannis had no 3-pointers. He scored none. And as a result, the Bucks lost against the 76ers. The game that was shown afterwards was Rockets versus Warriors. In that game, the lowly Warriors upsetted the Rockets. I called the Warriors lowly because they're one of the worst teams in the NBA now. Even though they still have a dynasty, it's already starting to show foundational cracks with KD gone and with two of its biggest stars injured. Klay Thompson, who is still recovering from a torn ACL he sustained in the NBA Finals, and Steph Curry, who broke his hand early in the season. So yeah, both of them are expected to come back late in the season, but there's not too much time for them left to save whatever is left of their playoff hopes. To make matters worse, the Western Conference has already caught up to them, with Western Conference teams finally getting better than ever. You know, after that game, the game that was shown was Lakers versus Clippers in a crosstown rivalry game, which saw the Clippers, consisting of Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, beating the Lakers led by LeBron James and Anthony Davis, or AD for short. So yeah, alright. These are the only news I will share for the sake of time, but one last thing I want to mention. The NFL regular season is over, the playoffs will be in full swing. A couple of coaches got fired, including Freddie Kitchens, whose teams could have had a wonderful season, but ended up having a disappointing season, despite having OBJ, Jarvis Landry, and Baker Mayfield. But I will talk about the disappointing season in another video, so for the sake of time. And Pat Shmurr, the coach of the Giants, also got fired as well. Maybe today or tomorrow or so, Jason Garrett could be fired after spending 9 years with the Cowboys. It's not for sure yet, but this is only as of now. Okay, I'm done talking about recent sports news. Let's talk about the biggest moments of 2019 and the 2010s in general. But let's get to sports. The biggest NFL moment in 2019 was of, I don't know what should I talk about, but it's hard to describe. There's not too many great moments came out of it, so I can except that we could talk about a wonderful game, a wonderful moment that I saw that I should list as the NFL moment of the year, which is of George Kittle catching a pass from Jimmy Garoppolo in the last seconds of the game, which led to the field goal that they eventually scored, which led to their victory over the Saints. The biggest NBA moment of 2019, I'm tied between these two, which is Damian Lillard's game winner against the Oklahoma City Thunder in the 2019 NBA playoffs, or another moment maybe of Kawhi Leonard's game winner against the 76ers in the same playoffs as well. So I'm tied between these two, so both are time for the best NBA moment of the year. Now that we've listed these moments of the year, we could talk about the biggest sports moments of the decade. For the NFL, maybe should I talk? It's hard to list, so I'll give you some examples. The Minneapolis Miracle, the Miami Miracle, or whatever biggest incident should I talk about when I'm talking about the 2010s in general. Or maybe talk about an embarrassing incident called the butt fumble, which was when Mark Sanchez accidentally bumped into his offensive lineman's ass and fumbled the ball, which is fucking hilarious. Alright. The biggest NBA sports moment is the Cleveland Cavaliers winning their NBA championship in 2016, which was after the Warriors blew a 3-1 lead in the finals, and that helped LeBron capture his third title and finally bring the first championship to the city of Cleveland since 1964, which was the last time they won a sports championship. The team that won the championship in Cleveland in 2004 was the Browns, who at the time had Jim Brown as their running back. So, even LeBron's mother, Gloria, wasn't around by then. She didn't live to. She wasn't born to see that. And to give you guys a little background, LeBron's mother, Gloria, had LeBron when she was 16, and LeBron, and later in his teenage years, LeBron became a high school phenomenon, and he entered directly into the 2003 draft, which is considered by many to be one of the greatest NBA drafts ever, and he was taken first overall by the Cavs. And he spent 7 years with them until he decided to go to the Miami Heat for like 5 seasons, or for 4 years. And while there, he won 2 championships with the Heat, with a core of him, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh. Afterwards, he decided to return to Cleveland with a promise of bringing them a championship, which was what he did in 2016. And that background story is one of the reasons, and why is it so important, is one of the reasons why I should list them, the Cavs' victory in the NBA Finals, as the biggest sports moment, as the biggest NBA moment of the decade. Alright. The biggest sports moment of the decade is of the Chicago Cubs winning the first World Series in 108 years in 2016. It brought a lot of glory to the city of Chicago, especially for me, because you know, where I live is a sports town. You know, we're a championship town. All the teams we have, like the Chicago Bears, Chicago Bulls, when they had Michael Jordan, and Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman, and Chicago White Sox, the Cubs, and the Chicago Blackhawks, they all won championships respectively, and in their own right. And that's brought a lot of glory to the city of Chicago, especially for me, because I feel, because sports accomplishments that the Chicago sports teams made in my hometown is what I'm proud of, you know. That's why I listed it as the greatest sports moment of the decade, the Chicago Cubs' victory in the World Series. So yeah, I generally don't talk about baseball too often, but I decided to list it as the biggest moment of the decade because, yeah, I can't talk about the decade in sports without talking about it. Okay, now that we've talked about the biggest sports moment of the year and the decade in general, we could talk about the biggest moments of the decade and the year. But let's start off with the year. For this year, I was able to accomplish a lot of things, like get back to short films, start making videos more and more often, and help get my channel expanded to different types of videos, like weather forecasting videos, which are the easiest for me to do, because often because they take lesser time than other videos I do generally, and they typically take like maybe 5 to 10 minutes to get the weather forecasting videos edited and done, and like half hour or 45 minutes later I get them uploaded onto YouTube. And I honestly love doing these videos, and I will keep making them in 2020, which is my plan for that year. I also hope to bring more short films next year, and two of the short films coming out that year are still in development, but expect them to come out this year. Expect it to come out next year, and yeah. All right. There's too many biggest moments of 2019 that we could talk about, but maybe maybe I should search it up like on Google, or maybe just help me list them in the comment section below. So everyone helps me list one of the year and of the decade. We should talk about it now. We had some biggest biggest moments and controversies of the year. One of the things we were able to accomplish was which was record a video of a guy diving into the Earth's atmosphere from space, which was the biggest moment I should consider when I talk about it. And this occurred in 2013, and it's so amazing to watch it. If you don't want to watch it, just search up space jump in 2013, and the video is pretty amazing to watch. And yeah. Okay. What do I think of the 2010s? In hindsight, the 2010s were a weird time, especially with the political events that took place in it. I won't get into them since I'm not getting into politics. And so I won't talk about politics in this video. I'll just keep them to myself. But yeah, the 2010s were a really weird decade, you know. But if that wasn't enough, most decades in general that we lived in, like the 1950s, 1960s, 1970s, 1980s, 1990s, the 2000s, and this decade were the weirder decades. Every decade is weird. Believe me when I say that. And because all of these decades that I listed all had weirder times, you know. What decade do you want me to live in? Maybe, I don't know. But I would definitely love to live in the 1960s and 1970s. So these were the awesome times. The 60s and 70s were an awesome time, you know. Especially with the music and the good shit that came out in these decades, you know, like classic rock and movies that came out of these decades, and fashion and art that were from that year. What would I look like in that time period? I would have maybe long hair or maybe shaggy hair with some sideburns. I actually sport some sideburns in real life, and only those who know me in real life know what I look like. I rarely show my face on my videos, but I like having the sideburns, you know. Look at the beautiful sunrise. Doesn't this look beautiful and pretty and cute? Yeah. The sunrise is looking cute and beautiful, especially now that I'm getting closer to the village that I'm almost reaching. Alright, we're almost there, boys. We're almost there. Alright, we're here, boys. We're here in this village. A village called Elderney. And, it's a pretty prosperous village. It's a wealthier village. And, most of their wealth comes from butchering, farming, and lots of other things, among other things. This is the name of the village, Elderney. The population may be exaggerated, but since it's large, I figured that I should give it a bigger number, you know. So, what decade would you rather live in? Would you rather live in the 50s, or 60s, or 70s, or 80s, or 90s, or 2010s, or the 2000s? Let me know in the comments below. And, yeah. I would also love to live in the 90s as well. The 90s were also an awesome time. You know, a lot of good shit came out in that decade. Movies like Forrest Gump, and so many to name. Lots of good bangers came out that year, particularly in rap and rock, like from Nirvana, NWA, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Tupac, Notorious B.I.G., and lots to name. Or maybe should I also mention Weezer, and among other artists that I named. Yeah, lots of good TV shows, lots of awesome TV shows were from that decade, like SpongeBob, Rugrats, Dexter's Laboratory, Ren and Stimpy, and some PBS Kids shows like Arthur, and there's too many to name. So I just wanted to give you some examples, some good examples. Yeah. Would I live in the 80s? Maybe. But that was also a weird time, you know. But still, it had some good shit that came out that year, whether it was music, movies, and TV shows, you know. Yeah. Yeah. Wrapping up the year, we should also talk about those that we lost that year. The ones that we lost included there's too many to name, but it would be heartbreaking for me to list down. So if you would like to view the famous people that died this year, click on the link in the description below. It's a Wikipedia page with deaths in 2019. There's lots of pages dedicated to the months famous people died in 2019, and so it's a pretty long. They're pretty long lists, but just be careful of what you're getting yourself into, because some of the listings are pretty sad and, you know, and heartbreaking to look at. Alright. There's too many to list, so I will not name them. So if you want to see the extensive list, click on the link in the description below. Alright. Alright. Yeah, the short films. One of the short films I'm doing is the short film that I'm doing next year is it's of a hostage short film, and some of the dialogue is in Spanish, so of course I will put out the captions in English so you guys can understand. All right, this is the village called Norwich, or Norwick, should I pronounce it correctly? And it's a pretty isolated village, and it's a pretty lonely village. Yeah, it's mostly impoverished, with farm fields that are dry and you know, and as a result, they make lesser money from farming, which leaves the village impoverished. And you can see some of the villagers that are living in poverty in that village. Unlike the other village that I'm staying in for the night, which is a more prosperous, wealthy village. Alright, we're trading bread with the farmer. Yeah, we're trading with the farm. We're trading for bread with the farmer to bring home the food that we need in order to feed my villagers back home. Because these are my people. I need to help them. Alright. Well, there were some people that were born in that year too, especially for those in your family. Well, there's this one baby who was born this year, and it's Prince Archie, who is the son of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. I normally don't talk. I've never talked about the royal family in my videos, since I'm not really a political person that much anymore. I still talk about politics and history outside of YouTube, but I just rather not share politics on here, because I want to keep my videos as friendly as possible, you know. Cause I got viewers that are kids, you know, and if I were to discuss politics on here, you know what would happen next, and I don't want to deal with that. So it's best that I stay out of politics when I make these videos. So I'm not gonna discuss Trump or anything here. I just rather keep things non-political, because all I want is for my videos to be friendly towards my viewers that are mostly kids or young men that are in high school and college. All right. The other things I want to talk about, the ones I forgot to talk about, I'm gonna get back to sports for a bit, so let's talk about it now. Two NFL records were broken in this month and Drew Brees surpassed Peyton Manning for the most passing touchdowns in his career. And strangely, he threw a passing touchdown in the last seconds of the second quarter, which was overturned after a bullshit pass interference call on a guy who caught the pass for a touchdown. So the touchdown was rescinded. Fortunately, though, he was able to break the record. He was able to break the record without incident, when he threw a touchdown pass in the third quarter, which now broke Peyton Manning's record. Of course, Peyton Manning had something to say. I haven't seen a message video, so I'm not really gonna talk about it, but there's another record that got broken recently. It was a record that was broken by Michael Thomas, the Nets game against the Titans, in which he broke the most receptions in a single season, which was formerly held by Hall of Fame receiver of the Colts, Marvin Harrison, who was one of Peyton Manning's weapons when he was in Indianapolis. Harrison, together with Peyton Manning, won Super Bowl 41, and Harrison had an overall exceptional career and is in the Hall of Fame. And he's one of the unsung heroes of the Colts team that won Super Bowl 40. You know, I want to give my love and respect to that guy. I also want to give love and respect to Michael Thomas as well. So, congrats to Drew Brees for breaking Peyton Manning's record, and congrats to Michael Thomas for breaking Marvin Harrison's record this season. So, that's what I want to say for now. That's all I can talk about in sports. We're gonna go home now. Back to my village. Alright. Alright. We're gonna skip the return trip, because it's gonna be long and boring. But let's go home now. Alright. This may be the longest video ever, surpassing the other one I did this month. So this one could be 45 minutes. And yeah. Alright. We're almost home, and we're gonna get back as fast as I can. The other short film I'm doing in 2020 is of a romantic short film. I've been wanting to get back into romantic short films for a while. This time though, it's of another couple that I created, and the ones you might have seen from my previous short film that I did in November. It's of Kirk and Nora. I've been wanting to do a backstory. I've been wanting to do a short film about them for a while, and this is coming into fruition next year when I do a short film about them. It'll be romantic, but it will also deal with racism and cultural clashes, because both Kirk and Nora are of different ethnicities. Kirk is a half Spaniard and half Irish, while Nora is Swedish. So that's something that could be relatable for viewers, because some of you guys watching this are white, black, Hispanic, or Asian. I don't care whatever you are. I just wanted to do a short film focusing on cultural diversity, because that's what I want to do, and easy for me to relate to. The short film the theme of the short film could also be relatable to you guys, because I know I got a diverse audience, you know, of whites, blacks, Hispanics, Asians, and of other races. So you guys could relate to that short film too. Alright, these are my plans for 2020, and I hope they come into fruition, and I hope I can accomplish them in that year. Alright, we're home now, in this village, and the home I belong to. Alright guys, before we go, this is late, but I want to wish you guys a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to you guys, and I also want to wish you a happy and healthy and prosperous New Year as well, and I hope you guys have a good 2020, and as always, thank you guys for watching. See you next decade, and I'll see you guys next time.